Hello guys, and welcome back to our Fast Fact series. I'm Ted, your host, and for this Fast Fact, we are going to look at the career of Narmer. And Narmer is a very important individual in history because he is the person who, or the man I should say, who unified the regions of Upper and Lower Egypt. He unified them into one single polity. And before Narmer, the regions of Upper and Lower Egypt were broken up into many sort of small Neolithic villages that were the center of regional areas known as nomes. And these nomes were ruled by dynasts known as nomarchs. And just a bit of housekeeping on the terms nomes and nomarch. Nome and nomarchs are not Egyptian words. They're not what the Egyptians refer to those territorial designations, to those provincial designations, and they are not the terms that the Egyptians used to refer to the people who governed or ruled these areas. Nomes and nomarchs are Greek words. They descend to us because the original Egyptian terms are lost to us, but the Greek terms survive. So just a bit of housekeeping on that. And every region, just about every major Neolithic village in Egypt had a nome and controlled a surrounding area, had a nomarch and controlled a surrounding area, a nome. That pattern was changed abruptly during the career of Narmer. In and around 3100 BCE, Narmer embarked on a campaign to unite all of Upper and Lower Egypt. He wanted to unite all of these nomes and displace all of these nomarchs. Narmer's starting territory was at a city called was in the regions around Edfu and Abydos. Abydos was his city, and Abydos will remain the city of Upper Egypt until the rise of Waset, better known to audiences as Thebes. But Thebes is the Greek term for the region, for the city, and Waset is the nativist, is the Egyptian term for the city. So Narmer, from his position in Upper Egypt, and again, Upper Egypt is the area inland in Africa, and Lower Egypt would be heading out of Africa, heading toward the Mesopotamia. So Narmer marches along the Nile. He marches downstream into Lower Egypt, conquering all of the nomes and displacing all of the nomarchs. His accomplishments is attested to and celebrated on what we refer to as Narmer's Palace. And Narmer Palace is a small object that depicts his campaign. He is shown as the bull breaking down the cities of one of the cities of the nomes in Lower Egypt. He's seen smiting. He's seen in what we call the smiting pose, in which he's gripping the back of the head of one of his enemies, and he's preparing to deliver a killing blow with the mace in his hand. There's also a rather gruesome scene in which he is viewing recently killed captives, and the captives may have just been average people. They may have been a warrior corps. They may have been some displaced nomarchs. But he is seen viewing the decapitated, bound bodies of these men with their heads between their legs, and it's meant to impress upon people that Narmer was a man of business and that you did not want to cross Narmer. Now, beyond his campaigns, Narmer married a noblewoman from Lower Egypt, from a very prominent aristocratic family, no doubt. And from this point on, Egypt is ruled as a singular entity. The kings of Egypt from Narmer's reign will be known as Nasuts. Now, Nasut is one of the many terms that we know that the Egyptians refer to their kings as. The popular term for an Egyptian king, pharaoh, is a Hebrew corruption of the term per and ah. Per and ah, or per-ah, simply means the guy in the big house. It's a corruption of the term great house. It's a Hebrew corruption of the term great house. Nasut is more of a traditional title for the kings and more aptly describes their position. Now, Narmer rules his new domain has a composite kingdom. He's not in any quick rush to simply displace the traditions in either region. He keeps the traditions alive in both regions, and that will also play a great effect on later Egyptian civilization and culture. the old traditions are alive. And Narmer, what he does is he simply sets new precedents for royal rule and royal administration, and nearly all of his precedents will be followed in the succeeding centuries. Throughout the course of Egyptian history, Narmer maintains two administrations, one for Upper Egypt and one for Lower Egypt. He builds a new capital city, Memphis, which will serve as the political and regional capital of Egypt for most of antiquity. What Narmer does to reflect the composite nature of his new kingdom is he takes the white crown of Upper Egypt and the red crown of Lower Egypt, and he combines them. He makes a composite crown. He creates the united crown of Egypt, a crown that we know as the Dresset. He employs a mixed service aristocracy of former nomarchs and their families from both kingdoms. And the genius of Narmer was that he was able to integrate his conquest and forge a new identity and purpose for both of those former regions. He was able to do this because of the divine nature of the Egyptian kingship, a rich ritual ceremony that was created to supplement the kingship, and the prestige of being associated with the divine figure of the king was enough to persuade the nomarchs to seek the favor of the king and not oppose him. Explaining why the king, and this really explains why the kings of Egypt did not need to develop the type of royal bureaucracy like their counterparts in Mesopotamia. Sargon was not a divine king. Sargon very much needed a large scribe corps to administer his empire. Narmer and his successors, they are living gods. Everybody else is simply out of religious or even just earthly personal ambitions, attracted to them and willing to serve them based on their divine status. So a bit of contrast there between Mesopotamia and the Nile River Valley. And that'll conclude our fast fact on Narmer. A lot more can be said about Narmer and its accomplishment, but we'll leave it at that. Hit like, subscribe, and comment, and let me know what you thought about this fast fact. And as always, I am Ted, and I'll see you guys next time for another fast fact.